Hello, Donks. This is episode 4 of Just Believe Radio. Tonight we will be previewing UFC Noche with our podcasters, me, Superdave Fairtex, and No Special. This Noche event is actually a little bit more exciting than you give it credit for. So I'd like to start off talking some current events with No Special here. We're talking about life for Izzy in the middleweight division, what's going on in middleweight. Madison Square Garden ticket prices, I guess they're crazy. I don't know. You got anything for me?
First off, hello. And well, I like to start with the middleweight division. First off, the middleweight division is never going to be the same. Secondly,
Never going to be the same.
Looking at the...
Wait. Before we move on to secondly, you said it's never going to be the same. Are you going to elaborate on that later? Or because I don't want you to move on to secondly and not elaborate on it. It's not going to be the same ever again.
It alludes to the divisional.
So you'll be getting into that in whatever you're about to say.
That's just
okay. Continue.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yes, sir. Looking at the middleweight landscape division, it's a fucking mess. And the number one contender, DDP, he may not even get a title shot next, which is weird because it's almost like...
Is DDP the number one contender on the UFC's rankings right now? Yeah, currently.
Currently? Are we going off what we believe is the number one contender?
Off of
because in my opinion, I think
DDP. Are you saying he's your number one contender, or is he the official number one contender?
Yeah, I mean, what would you rank him if he wasn't if he wasn't ranked number one on?
I would rank him number two. I was just curious if he was. He's number two contender actually. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I would have him number one. If you beat Robert Whittaker the way he did, I would make you number one. Yeah, but that's dumb because he just got washed for 4.5 rounds.
Okay, so DDP is the number. All right. I'll allow it.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. It's like the way Strickland handled Izzy. In my opinion, he should not be the number one contender because it was such a thorough, ass whooping. It wasn't even really an ass whooping. He just beat him thoroughly. It was a sound, defeat, and there's no controversy to it. Whereas DDP finished, Robert Whittaker fairly easily, and he wasn't even. Granted, Whittaker had his moments in that fight, but we're looking at the division. It's Strickland, DDP, Izzy, and then Whittaker, and then the rest of the division.
Would you say that
right?
Strickland big brothered Izzy? Was it that kind of performance?
No, I think he just had him figured out. If you're gonna say big brothered, it would be what happened to Whittaker was big brother.
Whittaker was a big brother, kind of beat down.
Yeah, what I saw from Strickland was a dissection of the champion. I don't think I've seen a more thorough fight other than seeing Dillashaw beat Barao in their first fight and possibly the second fight.
Well, who gets more credit? Who gets more credit? Strickland? Or Eric Nixick?
It's got to be Nixick. You can have Clay in front of you, but you still got to
how he always does. Just smarter and more defensively sound.
No. You need it. He was ready to quit before that fight. Nixick brought him back into his headspace before.
I think his girlfriend had brought him back into his headspace. Actually, did you hear about the girlfriend?
That dude was not prepared to win.
Yeah, apparently everything changed when he got his girlfriend.
I thought it was Nixick in the locker room.
Oh, she was at the fights with him and stuff. Nixick said it completely changed him.
Yeah, which was surprising to know that he actually had a girlfriend.
Why is that, Austin?
I'm just saying, the man
Oh,
says some
like
crazy
yeah, like
things.
what
I'm just
woman would
saying.
want him? Well, they say it's kind of an act, but like that's him. But
It's a bit.
no, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, you've been
but
kind of going
still.
off on a tangent. Can you get to what you were trying to say? Because I don't think we've made it like one sentence into your actual thought.
Okay. All right. Well, let
Well,
me
you were
ask you
breaking
this then,
something down
Dave.
before you like. I kind of cut you off and derailed you.
A little bit. No, we're good. I, are you more surprised at the result? Because I was definitely more surprised at how it is. And now going forward, I think the UFC is going to burn Izzy by pushing him back into that title fight. Because we have Cannonier who just won. We have Strickland who just won. DDP is going to wait in the wings, and everybody keeps talking about how DDP might not even get the next title shot next, which to me is asinine because Strickland fights often. Strickland didn't take a whole lot of damage. Strickland doesn't cut a whole lot of weight if he's in
I have
camp.
no idea. He had to
Correct?
fight at 205
The guy
in his
tends
last
to.
fight.
I would say because it was a last minute fight, not Abus, but the fight before that with
Izzy would have made 185.
Nasruddin
Izzy
Imavov.
would have done it.
That fight was a last minute kind of. Yeah, because it was a last minute replacement fight because Nasruddin was supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum, who had to pull out.
Was that on Noche card?
And Strickland's not a. Yeah, Nasruddin. No, I'm sorry. Kelvin was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that fight got scrapped. Yep. Going into it, Strickland is that type of fighter who is. He's got a couple of tools, not a whole lot. He knows how to use them. And I mean, if he stays to the game plan, he's got a very good consistency with his tools, matching that with his opponents. And I don't think you're going to find a guy with a more basic game plan, but a more very, very well-rounded tool set as far as how he approaches the game. And I mean, with Nixick in his corner, I don't think there's anybody that's going to, unless Pereira decides to come back down to middleweight. Even then, I don't think that's going to be the case. But I don't know, man. I'm looking at it like everyone's talking about how the winner of Costa versus Kamzat is going to be the number one contender, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, Drake has just won his
But he
last
turned down
fight
a
against
fight,
the
and
number
Dana
2
doesn't
guy
like
in the
that.
division.
I mean,
Very
he said he
thoroughly.
didn't like that.
I understand that, but Dana doesn't
But
like
he's the
not
same
having main
now.
events. Who's the champion now? Who can main event? Strickland. Who's going to take fights relatively without issue? Strickland. Izzy, if I'm the UFC, I'm telling him to wait. We're going to put him in a number one contender fight somewhere down the line. And against who? Who knows? Because the division right now has room. The UFC likes it when they can kind of reset the table and open up new matchups. This is a perfect opportunity for a lot of guys like Robert Whitaker, Costa, hell, even Marvin Vittori and Jared Cannonier, can all of a sudden have a crack at the title. But the table has to be reset because Izzy just lost. Strickland became the champion relatively unheralded. If we're looking at the fight that I would say should be next, realistically, should be DDP versus Dragus, and you can have that as a co-main event or
You
a main
mean
event in
DDP
Vegas.
versus Strickland? You said DDP versus Drakus, I think. Yeah.
You're correct. Yes, I did say that. Thank you for fixing it. Because the reason only that I say that is because we don't know who's going to take damage the most when Costa fights Kamzat. When either of them are going to be ready to come back, because both guys are known for taking long layoffs and saying yes to fights, but things just
Mhm.
not playing out in their favor, right? Matchmaking for them is pretty much like a non-win situation. Either they'll say yes or they'll say no, and there's going to be 300 reasons as to why the fight didn't happen. Plus, I'm imagining
Yeah.
those guys are going to beat the shit out of each other. Not going to be 100%.
Hmm.
Strickland is literally healthy.
No, no,
Did you see him take a whole lot of
no, not at
damage?
all.
I didn't. And who just fought and is more likely going to be ready by December? I'm
Yeah,
assuming Drakus will be.
that's understandable. That's reasonable.
That's my reason for it. That's my reasoning for it. However, the UFC doesn't usually like to listen to
Yeah.
logic, so.
Well, let me circle back a little bit. You started off by saying, was I surprised by how things turned out in the main event? And I tell you what, I was not surprised at all.
Absolutely.
Before the fight, I would have never picked Strickland to win. I thought he didn't have a chance in hell. But as the fight started and as I played out, I was like, oh shit, he's doing it. And this kind of makes sense. Like his technique, like his style is kind of tailor made to do this. And I was kind of surprised, like, why didn't anyone see this coming? Because I thought he kind of fought like he always fought, just more like defensively sound, maybe hear a little bit more power in his punches, and just a little smarter. But he kind of did the Sean Strickland thing, and it worked. And I don't think Izzy had a plan B. I thought he was going to walk through him. Um, like I was surprised he didn't like. Sean would pressure. Like, I
That's
don't
what
know
I
why
thought
Izzy
too.
never pressured forward himself or tried anything. Because sometimes Sean would just walk forward with his hands up and not do anything, and Izzy would back up. It's like, try something yourself. You got to mix it up. But he was like so confident they had like no plan B, and it is what it is. It sounds like there was some issues in the corner and stuff, but I really like Izzy's chances in a rematch, and I think that's the fight to make next because I mean, I'm just not including DDP in it because he said no to the boss, and Dana's CEO now, and he doesn't like that, and I mean Strickland might just say fuck it, but
Well, Dana, well, maybe, but I mean, it's weird matchmaking if you're asking me because it was such a thorough beating. It's not like Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, where it was an upset of like, oh God, she was winning and then literally got caught and then just never recovered from it. Whereas Izzy had time to recover. Izzy just never tried to fight back like in an intelligent way and was pretty much broken by the end of the fight. I mean, you looked at it and you were like, Izzy has nothing for him. Like he just kind of gave up in the last 10 seconds where you're like, well, at a bare minimum, you could throw your hands. And, what does Brian Campbell love to say? His favorite moment was when Izzy was literally saying, I'm willing to die. Are you, to Kevin Gastelum when they fought at that, pay-per-view event in, I think it was Vegas or something. And that wasn't even what happened.
I
He just was, there's no
Yeah, I kind of
consistency
thought about
in
that
that
exact
fight from
line when they
Izzy.
went into round five. I was like, man, I don't see that from Izzy this time around in round five. Like, he's not that same guy. The reason I think that he gets the rematch is just because he sells like good amounts of pay-per-views, like 800,000, 700,000. I'm not sure like how important that is in the ESPN era, but like nobody cares
Yeah, but
about
do you,
Strickland versus DDP or Strickland versus the winner of Costa and Kamzat. They might care to see Kamzat finally get a title shot, or not finally get a title shot. But I really just think that the UFC is going to send Izzy back in there,
it
and so
might.
I'm not going to fight against it.
No, I agree that the UFC is probably going to do the same thing. Is it the right decision? Probably not. And I'm looking at it from a perspective of if you're trying to get the money now, yeah, that's probably the best situation. But like aesthetically, everybody who watched that fight probably is looking at it and think, I don't know how
I know
Izzy's
how
going to
Izzy's
win.
going to
He had
win.
nothing for him in that
Coach
fight.
Behrman said he needs a
And I'm
week
pretty sure,
to prepare Izzy, and I
oh,
believe him.
how,
I think I mean, Sean
I,
fights so basic.
I don't,
Like so basic, easy. Didn't have a plan B. Like they
it's
will
a
be
basic,
able to beat that.
a basic style
They
that
just weren't
literally
prepared
had
for it.
no answers from Izzy's corner. You
Yeah,
had
but
two
it's
weeks,
like the
2 months.
fundamentals work because
You
of the
had two
brilliance
months.
of Coach Nixick and the way that Sean put it together. But they all have not that difficult solutions to work around, and they will pick that up in no time whatsoever, and it will be a drudgeoning, the second fight. Yeah.
So you're really believing that? All right. I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure if it is at all competitive, I'm pretty sure it's going to be. If it's going to be competitive and in favor of Izzy, it needs to be 6 months to nearly a year from now, before they have that rematch. No one,
like,
in order for, I don't think if he takes a shorter notice return to the title fight in that rematch,
I just think no one cares about a middleweight champion besides Izzy.
I don't
like Sean is the champion, and that's a good story, but like in the end, like no one's really going to care. Like,
well, I think it's more like this. The UFC is going to have a champion that they can just literally throw out there, and he'll fight whoever is in front of him. He doesn't care if they're promoted. He doesn't care if they are the golden boy. The UFC likes champions that don't argue back. Literally, the thing you said about Dracus literally said no to the title fight because he wasn't prepared, and Dana doesn't like that. Strickland has never said no to a fight. If Izzy loses, Strickland is going to be the champion, and he's going to be in the Chris Weidman situation where I beat one of the best middleweights in this era. However, he's probably going to be a guy who kind of gets, lost in the, middleweight kind of like, all right, they're kind of a decent fighter, but, he fought a guy at the end of his prime or something like that. And looking at Izzy's been that guy for the UFC for a while, like you're saying. He's been a guy who's been a champion. He's been a retaining champion. What was it? I think 5 or 6 title defenses in a row before he lost to Pereira. And I mean, he beat everybody in the division to the point to where we were looking at rematches for him, right? So, what I'm saying is that if the division was going to suffer because there was nobody else for Izzy to fight, this might be the thing. However, I would say Izzy might just go up to 205.
So what do you do next with Izzy then? Like, are you going to move him to 205 and take a fight, or do you have anyone in mind at 185 for him?
If you're asking me,
I'm asking
Magic
you
Wand,
specifically.
I would tell Izzy to take a year off. I'm telling him to take a year. I'm telling him to take a year to 6 months.
And then what? Just see how things play out.
Don't fight. Don't spar. Exactly. If Izzy comes back, you want there to be some time between him losing his title, maybe even taking up a fight within the top 10 to see if it's just a one-time thing. Izzy only needs to be ready, and maybe you give him the title fight after that. Like, he might not even need to take the title fight, or take a tune-up fight or a top 10 matchup, top 5 matchup. He might just get a matchup regardless. But you save that fight because we know it'll sell. Probably. It's middleweight, so there's never really any true consistency anyways. So let Strickland kind of run the division for now. I guarantee he'll probably rack up 3 title defenses within the year.
You guarantee he'll rack up 3 title defenses within the year.
Within a year from this point,
you think Strickland wins his next 3 fights?
Is what I mean. If he's not fighting
crazy. That's
because who else? Who else is in the division?
And he's right. And he's
You're looking at guys who have.
Kamzat destroys him. Like, everyone beats him. Like,
look, Cannonier, I think, I don't think that's the case anymore. Because he just took the most basic game plan to the best striker in the division and beat him.
Yeah, styles make fights, dude. It's true.
I know that's what I'm saying. If nobody else could do it, and the only guy who could do it is the only one who left the division, Izzy got his revenge. Who trained with that dude? Strickland. Strickland also learned how to get a little bit more power in his punches as of late. So he's been putting people down. I mean, he nearly knocked out Izzy. I'm just saying. I always looked at Strickland as kind of a boring fighter, a guy who didn't really have a whole lot of pop in his shots, and a guy who was kind of very basic, very minimal in his game. I see that I was wrong, and I'm looking at him from a different light. I don't see him as a boring fighter. I see him as a guy who's well put together, well rounded, very good at his basics, very dangerous, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he's here to stay. I'm ready for when he defends the belt if it happens.
All
to
right.
be
Well, I'm telling you right now, you're crazy. But I think in the interest of time, we should move on and talk about this
That's fine.
UFC Noche card. What the hell happened to it? I guess there was a lot of fights that got canceled. I don't suppose you have like the Wikipedia up, do you? That's normally a pretty good source of seeing what fights were canceled.
I'm currently looking up the.
Yeah, I believe there was a whole bunch of fights canceled. Well, like you said, while you're looking it up, there was like Kelvin Gastelum versus Shavkat was supposed to be on there.
Curtis,
man, that would have been
Anthony
a good fight.
Hernandez. Curtis had to withdraw. Here's one for you: Daniel Rodriguez versus Santiago Ponzinibbio.
That would have been a good fight. Yeah.
Right, but Rodriguez tested positive for
and Cynthia Calvillo, Elise Reed, canceled.
They had Nathan Levy versus Alex Reyes, and unfortunately, Levy had to withdraw.
Yeah,
I like that dude. He's good. He's a good little fighter. For lightweight. He looks undersized for lightweight, to be honest. But no, there's a couple of fights. But the biggest one probably being the Shavkat Kelvin Gastelum fight, and it shows Yasmin Lucindo was also paired up with Elise Reed and Josephine Knudsen. And Lupita Godinez versus Sam Hughes. Obviously, those fights also fell apart for one reason or another. The Cynthia Calvillo versus Elise Reed. I don't know if Cynthia could afford to take another loss. So
yeah, I thought they actually cut her, but
thing.
I guess not. Maybe she got re-signed or something, or maybe I imagine that.
No, they're more. I think they're more lenient towards the women fighters because there's not as many of them. The divisions aren't nearly as deep as some of the men's divisions, so they probably needed the bodies.
So, do you have any thoughts about the card as a whole? Like, what went
She's on
wrong
a quite
or
a
anything
losing
like
streak.
that?
I'll say that. Nah, just probably poor matchmaking decisions. Like if I'm looking at it, there's not a whole lot of active UFC roster Mexican fighters that are like, because you could have had Brandon Moreno on this card. You could have had Yair Rodriguez, but you used them on other cards. I mean, hell, there's a couple of Mexican fighters who are still on the roster who aren't even big name that you could have thrown on there, and they would have helped. But the UFC literally doesn't care where it takes place, or the events take place. They're literally just, all right, who's available? Okay, who will say yes? And then they look for replacements to those fights of fighters that say yes because they know there's always a chance of them kind of being canceled or for one reason or another. I mean, hell, they had the French city kickboxing guy fighting in Australia when he could have probably fought in France. It probably would have been better for him, but he still won. He still got a pop from the crowd, whatever. They had an Irish dude that probably could have fought in France or in the UK at one point or another, and he happened to be there. The UFC plans maybe one or two fights to specifically supplement those events, and then everything else is filler. Like that's their game plan. Let's cut costs at the expenses of the fighters. Like we're minimizing everything's in house. We're the ones doing the production. The ESPN is going to broadcast it. all we're doing is making sure our fighters are available, and we're making sure that they're not going over a certain budget. So that way, all we're doing is gaining profit because we're getting paid to leave the United States. I think I think they were there. I think he was it for the Islam um, uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
Volkanovski fight, right, in Perth. And they have a deal with the tourism board, and I think that's the thing Lazy was saying a while back, was that their tourism site fees are pretty good. I mean, they're getting money left and right for those, and
Yeah.
it's good business for them. It's a good reason to leave the Apex whenever they, they're
Hmm.
not in Vegas or somewhere in the U.S.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting is I'm looking here, and Cynthia Calvillo actually was released on April 11th after a loss to Lupe Goodness, but I guess they were bringing her back. I know she's on quite a streak. She might be the new Sam Alvey of MMA. No,
She hasn't gotten a win
no, I don't
outside,
think so.
so
Well,
the
they did the
fact that they
same thing
brought
with
her
like Chris
back,
Daukaus
I
or
mean,
one of the
that literally proves
yeah.
my point. That literally proves my
Like
point.
people complain about this card, but actually, I don't give a fuck about the fights that were canceled. Like, who cares? Like, I'd love to see Shavkat fight, and I'd love to see Kelvin fight, but I didn't want
Well,
to see them fight each
Shavkat,
other.
yeah,
Like, that's a bad matchup for Kelvin. He needs a big name that's
no,
an
agreed.
easier matchup.
Hmm.
And
Honestly, you could
yeah,
probably
I was
put him
kind of thinking the
against
same thing
Wonder Boy.
actually. And so I think Kelvin kind of dodged a bullet. And
Honestly, it just sucks for
yeah,
Shavkat because Shavkat shouldn't have to
well, that's
fight
kind of the
down.
game. Sometimes, I mean, that's just the way it is. Sometimes.
It's true. I know he's literally the only dude who's got as many finishes as he does wins, which is his
Yeah.
entire career because he's undefeated at like 17, 18 and 0. So that dude's the truth. I think everybody kind of jumped off of the train because of his fight with uh, uh, not Neil Magny. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
Jeff Neal, and everyone's kind of like with Jack Della Maddalena, who's on this card. He has one questionable performance, and you're looking at it like, I don't know if he's that guy. No, he's still that guy. It's just a tough
Yeah.
fight. It's welterweight. It's what happens sometimes. If you get good matchups, people are gonna hit you back. You know.
Yeah. So I'd say the only real big loss is probably Kelvin versus Shavkat, but in the end, Kelvin dodged a bullet, and he might get a better matchup. And in the end, it's not that bad. So, you have anything else about what happened to this card?
Nah, no. I mean, it's just a typical UFC. They're just gonna fill it up as best as they can because they're not actually trying to build cards anymore. They're just, hey, let's just figure it out when we get there, and this is what we get. I wish they would do the Joe Silva era matchmaking style where they actually cared about who was on the card, matchmake accordingly to it, and then pay them
Well,
to
that's
stay
interesting
healthy.
you bring that up because Joe Silva had a
Because
very
that was
interesting matchmaking style, but a lot of the matchmaking that guys do now doesn't really seem to make sense. But in the end, we get a lot of banger fights.
it's more catered towards the ability to either push one fighter specifically in hopes of them becoming something, or it's just, let's use some fights. Let's just hope they work out. More often than not, they do work out. Again, we don't get the best formula all the time, but when it works, it works. I'm just kind of, looking at it from eh, almost like a critic who would, critique, fast
Yeah,
food. you know, if we're getting streamlined more
yeah.
fast food fights, I
I
would
tell you
say.
what, I am kind of disappointed that's happened in the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. I wish it was somewhere outside of Nevada, but it is what it is.
Well, you know why? It's because Canelo or boxing events
Mm,
usually hold Vegas that weekend. and apparently there is a thing where a lot of Hispanic people, especially Mexican descent,
Yeah.
will come to Vegas to
Oh,
celebrate
okay.
this weekend's holiday, and it's what so it's a thing that happens. I wasn't really that aware of it. I just knew that around here it's a thing that I mean I'm seeing literally people driving around with Mexican flags, and it's awesome because they're all like all just enjoying themselves, having a good time. You smell
Yeah.
barbecue in the air all the time now, and Mexican music playing. It's awesome. But you're looking at the this weekend, like Alexa Grasso, it's her weekend. I think that's what they're planning on. Like that's probably why. Maybe the event itself isn't a bit, a pay per view worthy event, but this weekend is Alexa Grasso's weekend,
Yeah. I will touch
regardless if
back
she
and
wins or
say I
loses.
was kind of dead wrong when I said, the only fight I really cared about was Shavkat versus Kelvin. I guess I did kind of care about Chris Curtis and Fluffy Hernandez and D-Rod versus Santiago. Like, they would have made the card a
That would have
lot
been a great
better.
fight.
I'm still pretty hype about it, but
That one too.
yeah, that kind of sucks.
Oh yeah,
I just think the MMA gods are not happy, and
shit happens, man. Not much you can do about it.
they're displeased with something that we did.
Right? If it was at the Apex, I guarantee you
Yeah.
half these fights would have at least made it to the main card.
Yeah, they would have stuck there for the headliner, though.
you
They would
know,
have rebooked
those are
Derek
the
Lewis
MMA
versus
gods are
Hal
gonna
Rockets
MMA.
for the headliner because that's something they have to do for
Yeah.
every fight night. All right.
You gotta leave him
Let's
alone,
get
man.
on
He's
to the
had enough
rematch
trouble.
here, the big title fight, the main event. Valentina versus Alexa rematch. What do you got for me? Who wins? How do they win? Any thoughts? Are you excited?
Um, Honestly, yes. I mean, I was thoroughly surprised, impressed, and happy with the performance I saw from both ladies. I mean, granted, Valentina had almost no answer for the rear naked choke attempt. However, you remember watching the fight, Alexa starts popping in her face, a hard right and a counter hook, and the jab was pretty much on point most of that fight, and it wasn't like here's a soft little touch on the cheek. I'm trying to just range find it. It's a hard stiff jab that was starting to redden the face of the champion Valentina Shevchenko, and she had to adjust. And that was, I think, the first time we'd ever seen her get popped in the face and not know what to do right off the bat. And then we get into the second round, and Valentina starts, they're actually, going toe to toe, striking pretty hard against each other. A couple of takedown attempts from Shevchenko, and she starts turning the fight around. She does this thing where she spins with a strike, or, spinning back kick, right? And she spins, exaggerates it. Alexa starts losing the fight because of the takedowns, and she's not able to answer those takedown attempts or even stop them. Sure enough, they're back on the feet. Alexa Grasso is, throwing out the stiff right, waiting for, an opportunity to look for an opening, and she's given one. By some miscalculation, Valentina exaggerates a back kick and just exaggerates the actual spin that comes with that kick. And I don't know if that was trained and she just kind of is a bad habit, but it just the minute that exposure of the back with the exaggerated turn, she jumps on her back, and then just I don't even think she had it underneath the neck. It was literally on the jaw. And she squeezed it with all of her fucking might. And that was more surprising to me that opening existed and they just exploited it without hesitation. And that was beautiful to watch. I mean, that transition that she literally like a spider monkey just hopped on her back and sunk in the choke without any
Yeah, well,
pause.
I don't know if you saw,
It was
but they were
beautiful to watch. If you're gonna
like
if you're
they were
gonna look at the
training that
fight now,
specific move right before the fight started.
oh
Like
god,
they were training the back take off of a spin, like right before. I don't know if you saw any of that footage. Hmm.
I may have
I didn't mean to
missed
cut you
most of
off,
it.
though. Go on.
if you're looking at the fight, what's that number that Luke Thomas likes to show? The 35.
Yeah.
The line at 35, right? The stat I think is like only 2 out of like 37 or
Mhm.
something like that have won, and even then it's because they're bigger weight classes. That's the exception, and I'm assuming it's the same for female fighters as well. And I'm looking at this fight. Valentina's older. I think she's 35
I have to
now,
interrupt you right
if
there.
I'm
I
not
have to interrupt
mistaken.
you right there.
And
Have you ever heard of a fighter called
yes,
Demetrius Johnson?
oh my
You might
god,
know him as Mighty Mouse. He fought in the UFC. He had a bunch of title defenses. You
I believe
familiar
I've
at
heard the
all?
name.
Can you take a guess as to how many years
Yes,
of age he is?
yes, I believe I am
Yeah.
currently
Wow. That is
37.
pretty goddamn impressive. He is 37. And you know he's out there beating up killers in Asia and in Colorado right now? Like killers, savages. Arguably the
Hmm.
best 135,
I
125 pounders in the world.
uh,
And he's beating them. 37 years of age.
you am I? It feels like I'm listening to
No,
ad
I'm
for
just
one.
saying
Is that
he's
what's happening here?
arguably the best in the world. He's 37 years of age. I mean, and women MMA fighters
No,
tend
I
to age
agree.
more
I agree.
gracefully.
I think Demetrius
Like
is still the
Holly
best.
Holm arguably won a lot of the fights that she lost over 35 years of age.
I think she gave some of those ones away.
Yeah.
But yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But if we're looking at the fight, Grasso
Yeah, I didn't mean to throw you off
can
there.
still
Like, were you
grow.
saying like Valentina might be like
Grasso
she's over
has
35 now? She's been fighting a long time. Do you think like the miles are starting to catch up to her? Maybe.
if it may be the same situation that we had with Izzy. Honestly, I mean, it. What do we look at with Valentina? She's a
Hmm.
multiple time world champion in Muay Thai, right? She like basically an entire sports career before she transitioned into MMA. And even then, she was already fighting the best of the best when she first came in bantamweight, then transitioned to flyweight after challenging for the title against Amanda twice. I mean, she's been fighting
Yeah.
really good fighters for a long time. And if you're looking at the division has finally started to actually produce contenders that can actually challenge her. Granted, Santos was more of a grappling situation, but still, um, she she's being forced to work harder. And at her age, in this game in general, it's especially if you're in the smaller weight classes, it is hard to compete with the younger generation, especially since you have been at the top for so long. It gets harder and harder and harder. Do I think she has a chance? Absolutely. If she sticks to the game plan, doesn't leave a whole lot of openings, it's going to be more of a boring fight because of it. But that's the type of fight that she wins.
Yeah.
I don't
Hmm.
know if that's going to be enough.
Is that about all you got on that?
I would say she
Really?
loses a very
A very
controversial
controversial
decision to Grasso. I'm going to say that. I don't think it's going to be controversial in the sense of like I think there's going to be some wonky scoring in it. Is what I mean. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very close decision, but the rightful winner is going to be Grasso. The problem I'm going to say is going to be scoring criteria and whether or not that applies to Valentina Shevchenko
All
and
right.
her
See,
fight style.
now I agreed with you 100%. Everything you said, I thought the same thing myself. And then I rewatched the fight,
Really?
and I actually saw, like, I was picking Grasso for sure. Like I thought, like you did, I thought she was landing good strikes in the boxing. I wouldn't say she had her number, but I thought she was doing the better work in the stand up alone in the fight. But on rewatch, like Valentina had some good strikes. She just didn't stick with them. Like I saw several paths to victory. Like her lead body like switch kick landed every time. She had a really good teep that landed like teep to the stomach that landed every time. In the first couple of rounds, she threw the spinning back a couple times, and it was really fast, and it wasn't really telegraphed. And then, like later in the fight, I noticed it got a lot slower. Like in round 4, she threw it once first, and it was kind of slow and stuff. And then later, she threw it again, even slower this time. And Alexa knew it was coming, or like kind of saw the movement, knew it was coming, and took her back. And it's like I don't think she'll make that mistake again. And I think she'll come in with her cardio being better because she's going to train harder. I think she might realize some of the success she had. And like early in the fight, every single takedown that she went for, she got. Like her timing was just, I'm not going to say it was like GSP, but I mean, like Alexa would throw strikes, she'd duck underneath, get the double leg, and take her right down like nothing. And even into round 3, she was getting the takedowns like not that difficulty. So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I
Almost
just
with
see
very
paths
little
to
resistance.
victory for Valentina that I didn't see before. I think she had some success in the strikes, and I think she might lean more into her Muay Thai training for this fight and be able to counter the boxing a little bit better. And then she might like just go balls to the wall with the grappling and like just be able to maintain the pace longer because I think it was kind of her cardio and the pace failing her late in the fight. And I think there's a good chance she'll be able to actually get it done this time. Am I crazy?
No, I mean the difference would be whether or not Grasso either shores up her takedown defense, which I
It
doubt.
wasn't a
I
long.
mean, at
I
this
mean,
point, it's
this is her first fight
either you
since the
learn how to
title
do it.
thing, so I'm sure she'll be training it. But I mean,
Training and applying are, two different things, and I think she can do it. I think she has the ability to do it. The takedowns only mattered to the point where Grasso was still able to find a way. Granted, it didn't look promising from Grasso. It just kind of looked like she had no answer for it. It was just kind of like, and it didn't seem like Valentina was doing a whole lot with those takedowns. There was a couple shots here and there, but more often than not, it was usually just her trying to keep Grasso down as Grasso tried to either transition to a submission offense game plan and then eventually look to escape to stand up. Very little strikes, or if I remember correctly, I don't know if you could correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. If I remember correctly, there weren't a whole lot of offensive
there was
strikes
some
being thrown from
from
top or bottom.
Valentina, but nothing that
Correct.
significant. Like earlier in the fight, she took her down and she got the crucifix, and she wasn't able to get like hardly anything off. Alexa was really prepared for the crucifix defense, so she spent like over a minute just trying to maintain crucifix and didn't have an opportunity to throw strikes and ended up losing it. And so she didn't get much off. Later in the fight from
Right.
like a guard position and stuff, she got off some like baby strikes, but nothing significant, nothing damaging, really.
Yeah, it's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Like, if Valentina is to have a successful grappling game, it has to work with submission offense, or you're looking at a a blast double, or just very very demonstrative takedown offense with a lot of ground and pound. And even then, like if she's not trying to stand and do Muay Thai and just kind of kickbox from the outside, she's going to limit her offense accordingly because of the openings that her old offense would give her. I'm imagining it's going to be more of a closer decision than we would like to think about. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be the Carmouche fight. I think it's going to be closer to the Amanda Nunes
Interesting.
rematch fight.
So Alexa by squeaky decision.
I think
Yeah.
so. Valentina's smart. Valentina's game. Valentina knows she just can't produce any more tools. So what do you got to do? You got to shorten up the your defense a little bit. If she does that, she's leaving less openings. She's more committed to a defensive game. Granted, She's a talented striker. She's a talented fighter. She knows how to grapple. She knows how to get out of sticky situations when she has opportunities to escape. Grasso didn't give her that opportunity. The minute she had the opening, she took it. Now, can she do it twice? I don't think she's going to finish her. I think she's just going to eke out a decision. And Valentina is going to be the one that gives
Yeah, I
her that
think
decision.
like I don't know. I feel like Valentina just kind of forgot she was a striker. Like when she came into the UFC, she wasn't wrestling much. She was mostly just striking and counter striking and using her Muay Thai experience. And then it's like her last 4 or 5 title defenses, she just realized she was a lot stronger than the other girls in the division, and has just been kind of getting by on like upper body throws and her physicality, and like that's not enough anymore. But I think I saw enough in her game for her to have a chance. But I'm not sold on Coach Pavlov. Like I said, I think she's been getting by on her physicality and other skills, and I'm not sure how much new she'd bring into her game without like one of the more well-known MMA coaches.
Right. I'm thinking this is my 2 cents on this one. I think we're looking at Valentina just kind of
Yeah.
pulling an Izzy. I think she just wasn't ready for the offense that she was going to get. And then I think she overcompensated that offense, trying to create space, but also still look like she was effective with her striking. It just ended up working against her. That's kind of my thinking on it, at least. However, she might just actually go back to just throwing hard like 1-2s and a good knee to the body with an elbow in the clinch, and she might just actually work that ass in the against the fence. I If Grasso gets in that kind of fight, I don't. If Valentina crashes into her, she's more physical. She has the harder punches when it comes to the clinch and actual kickboxing strikes. Muay Thai, she might win, but I don't see that. I just I don't I didn't see it in her last 3 fights, and her last 3 fights were
All
more
right, let me
competitive
ask
than
you
they
this
had been in a
question.
while.
You ever play EA UFC? So you know how you
I
can make
currently
a
haven't
fighter,
before,
like
yes.
create a fighter and have him 100 overall. So
Yeah.
if you got an
Okay.
MMA fight with MMA rules, but you got a 100 overall boxer and you got a 100 overall Muay Thai fighter, who wins that fight in an MMA setting? Like what I'm trying to get at is if Valentina returns to her peak
If it's
form
MMA,
with Muay Thai and brings a high level Muay Thai game, but Grasso's like
with a
boxing is so crisp and sharp,
right,
like say just like the boxing versus Muay Thai, but in an MMA setting, like who do you give the advantage to?
you would probably give it to Valentina. However, that closing of the distance, that gap between Valentina clinching or getting
Yeah,
into the
because I noticed
pocket would be the only issue,
Grasso
and
did
that
really
seemed to
good
be
at
an
staying
issue in
out
the
of the
first fight.
kicking range and stuff, and then she'd kind of pop in and catch Valentina. Like I don't know that much. Like I don't train, but I don't know if like Valentina could try using
Yep.
elbows more or something when it gets close like that, or working the close Muay Thai game.
If she crashes, if she crashes into her, she probably does a very very good job. I mean, the difference in the Maya fight, Jennifer Maya, was that Maya was literally just trying to use her size and clinch up with her. Not a whole lot of striking damage realistically from Jennifer Maya, but she was literally trying to crash into her guard, keep her against the fence, look for takedowns and whatnot, and then eventually look for a submission.
Yeah,
That only worked for 1 round. And even at the end of the fight, Valentina had finally just had enough of it and was actually just kind of popping off after being very careful, very safe for majority of the fight. Whereas with Santos, Santos was willing to crash into her striking guard, and more often than not necessarily win the striking battle, but Santos had just kind of put the pressure on her, and because Valentina wasn't prepared for how physical the fight was, Valentina had struggled with maintaining that distance. And then by the time she was out of the pocket, she was already just looking for an escape and trying to get maybe a 1-2 on the outside just to basically get her footing underneath her. And then, Santos would get back in with a hard right or a straight, punch and find herself back into the clinch again looking for takedowns. In this fight, Valentina got a little bit outstruck on the feet as far as your basic, counters and, boxing, combinations. Valentina forgot that she knows how to throw elbows in the clinch, throws knees, and she could probably get away with
Yeah.
it because Grasso's not an offensive grappler. But Grasso is a very good submission artist or jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Yeah,
It's
she's
whether or
actually pretty
not
good in the
those openings are
scrambles, like
presented.
sneaky good in the scrambles.
Maybe. Oh yeah, it was very tricky, very tricky. I mean, looking at the fight, the only way she gets caught is if she gives her an opening. 5 minutes into the grappling sessions, if they're actually going back and forth, we're probably looking at Valentina getting caught if she gets overzealous with her takedowns. Does she?
I have to think Valentina's been
another
training
question.
choke defense though, and that probably doesn't happen again.
All right. Well, that's gonna be the thing to bet
All right,
on.
let's get into the co-main event here. JDM versus Kevin Holland. Like, do you have any thoughts on what's that?
Oh yes.
Yeah, what is
This
Kevin
is gonna be a
Holland's
good
role
fight.
in the UFC? And is the sky really the limit for JDM? Like, people are talking about him like he's the next big thing. The world is his oyster. He's coming. It's his time. Like, what do you think about both of these guys?
Well, let me ask you first. Which one do you think is?
Hold on,
What's
don't leave
funny?
me
This one
hanging.
kind of
I,
reminds me
I
of
need that question asked.
the
If you
same
don't ask me now, I'm
situation.
going to be nervous about it.
Okay. Is Kevin Holland closer to being a
No,
gatekeeper
no.
in this
Kevin Holland's just
welterweight
getting
division?
started.
Okay. Okay, so let me ask you about
Jackie Three Names?
Jackie Three Names.
I like it.
Yeah,
Jackie Three
Jack Della
Names.
Maddalena. Right. If I'm looking at Jack Della Maddalena, he's in the same
Is he?
situation as Shavkat. Young prospect. I think so because he has a questionable performance of which his fight IQ may be not nearly as renowned as one would like to think, mainly due to the concept of if he's ready, he'll show up and he'll perform. However, whether or not he is that guy that's going to perform, that's going to be the question. He obviously made a whole lot of mistakes in his last fight. I don't know if he's going to be the
What's the
same guy that's going to
questionable
do that again.
performance from Shavkat that's analogous to well, see, Jeff Neal is on a whole nother tier. Like, Jeff Neal is a good fighter.
That's what I would say. This is a lot of the comments that I'm hearing is that because Jeff Neal gave Shavkat such a hard fight, people are kind of off the Shavkat train. As in the same situation, you're also looking at Shavkat. I'm sorry, not Shavkat, but Jackie Three Names or Jack Della Maddalena. He had a very questionable performance against a guy who was on the regional scene as a champion, and that was the other thing too, is that it was a tough test. That guy was not a scrub. he was ready for that fight. I mean, granted, it was he's not a striker, more of a grappler, but still, he gave Jack a tough fight. Jack had to cut weight twice, and then he also took a fight
but
on
Jeff
short
Neal's
notice
a
against the
proven
guy he was not
badass
ready
at
for.
the highest level.
That's what I'm trying to say is that they're not applicable situations, but they're both the same because both of these guys were considered prospects and now contenders, and they both had very questionable performances that both have had fans kind of question whether or not they're viable contenders. In this case, I think both are dumb because you can have questionable performances. It's okay. You can have very bad decision wins. You can have very questionable IQ in certain moments and still pull off the win. The idea is whether or not you learn from those situations and are able to carry out a victory in a heated or heat of the moment kind of situation. I think Jack got not lucky, but he got a very
Yeah.
very tough test. He proved that he was able to kind of adjust, not perfectly, but he found a way to win. I mean,
Yeah.
God bless his boxing because that's crisp. I don't know what the theory was in going for continuous guillotines, or only having the guillotine as your offense. But neither here nor there. He still got the win. He was able to get the win. Very very. He got it by the skin of his teeth. I'll say that, but still, very very good, very good, good performance for his opponent, but still. Whereas if you're looking at Shavkat's that guy who literally just went into his opponent's, off like abilities and just challenged him on it. Was that the smartest game plan? No, but Shavkat still finished the fight against a very tough opponent who had pretty much shown that he belonged there. And now, we're looking at both of these guys and thinking, okay, these are the guys that are still contenders. They're still ready. Jack Della Maddalena is probably the better striker in this situation, but he is not the more well-rounded fighter. I'll say that. Kevin Holland in this situation, he is either here to be a contender or he is not, and this is the fight to
Interesting.
prove it.
I don't know. I'm kind of like I like Jack three names, but his best win is who's his best win? Who do you say James' best win? Probably. See, he beat Danny Roberts, Danny
Hold,
Hot Chocolate Roberts. That's not a good
hold on,
win.
because
He
I'm
beat
thinking
that,
about it.
you know, whoever that guy was. So, like, I might put strength of schedule when I look at these matchups and level of competition, and Kellen's so much better. And Jack's obviously got for boxing and stuff, but Holland's so rangy and he hits long. He's got unusual strikes, and I really like his chances in this. I think it's going to be a banger fight, but I think the experience of Kevin Holland is going to be probably too much and should get him a pretty decisive win. Most likely we'll go with a 20 and a 28, but really decisive round over. What do you think?
I'm gonna agree with you on that one. Like I don't know if he's gonna be able to finish Jack, but his experience and his capabilities, plus he's, I mean, he handled uh the Jamaican fighter in his last fight. I forget his name.
Kevin Holland, I think, didn't he fight Michael
If I gotta
Chiesa last?
pull it up real quick on the fly. No, not Kevin
Oh
Holland.
yeah, he fought.
Jackie, three names. It was
Yeah,
Randy Brown. Sorry, apologies, Randy Brown. But yes, Randy Brown has the same dimensions and is just as capable of a striker. He's a decent grappler, but not the best grappler. I I find it hard that Jack can't adjust to a taller opponent. The striking is going to favor Jack. However, if I'm looking at the overall theme of the fight, it's either Jack can win on the feet, or you know Kevin Holland has the ability to take it to the
but
ground
he
and
doesn't do
actually
that. He
implement a
doesn't do
smart
that
game
though.
plan.
Like he took
Whether or
down
not,
Wonder Boy and then stood back up.
I know,
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to do that this time. I think he's going to. I'm not betting on him to win, no, but I would
but
favor him to take a
even though
decision.
like JDM hasn't had the strength of schedule, you've seen enough to confidently say that not just his boxing, his overall striking is better than Kevin Holland's.
I would think so, mainly because he's been a striker first and a fighter, a grappler second, whereas Holland was a jiu-jitsu guy
He was a
first and
jiu-jitsu
then
guy
a striker
first?
second.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I'll believe you.
I believe that's the case.
Hmm.
He recently just got his black belt. Yeah, I mean, looking at the fight, he knows how to fight. That's the thing. Anybody who gets in there obviously knows how to fight, whether or not you're well rounded in one aspect or you're in others. You're kind of so, or you're basic in one, but you know how to do a very specific thing, maybe one or two other things on top of that, and you don't really have a whole lot of tools. It, we're looking at a limited skill set with Jack, and you're looking at a decently well rounded game with Holland. I think Holland has the ability to do it. I don't trust him to do it, but I think he could take a
Interesting.
decision. But of course, Jackie can give him a combo and then submit him with a guillotine just like he did to Randy Brown. Yeah, dude's just as tall, just as lanky, just as decent of a striker, and
I
not
don't
an
think
accomplished
Randy Brown
grappler,
has
but a
that
capable
power like Kevin
grappler.
Holland, though.
Everybody's got good defense until they get hit. No, no, he doesn't need to. He got hit before then.
Yeah, like I'm not sure if Kevin's ever really been rocked outside of the headbutt or whatever. I mean, nah, I don't really. Like he had a TKO stoppage from like
No,
Stephen
and
Thompson,
even
but I'm
then,
not sure if he was like really rocked or anything like that.
he got
Hmm.
hurt maybe once or twice at the end of the fight, when the
Yeah, the thing
accumulation
keep in
started,
mind this is like 3
piling
rounds
up.
too,
But
so
no, no, generally, yeah, generally he's the type of guy that takes the punishment pretty well, and then on top of it, he's also the kind of guy that's hard to put away. More often than not, he
yeah.
loses a decision or by submission.
Hmm. All right, so with that, no, no.
Do you have anything else you want to
I
add to
think
it?
we can move on to our fight predictions. I think who did you have in the main event again? You were going with Grasso, I believe.
Yes, sir. Going with Grasso by a very
All right,
squeaky
well, I'll go
decision.
with Valentina by a dominant decision or possibly a TKO. What about JDM versus Kevin Holland?
As much as I was talking about how limited his game plan was,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Jack. I want to go for Holland, but because he's so inconsistent with his performances, I think that's going to be the thing that ultimately drags me to Jack. Mainly because his striking is decent enough to get him a win. It's He's well rounded in his striking. Leaves his face out a little bit more than I would like, but he's pretty good in the boxing department. Um, got very very good calm, collected striking in the pocket kind of vibes, But I I can't put like faith into Holland
Yeah.
fighting to his capabilities. More often than not, Holland fights his fight, and whatever happens, happens. He doesn't really play
Hmm.
to the game plan that he should.
Yeah, and I'm for the main event, or for the co-main event, I think Kevin Holland's going to get it done. Basically, the way that yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I think it's going to be 29-28 for sure. He's going to dominate 2 rounds. Maybe not dominate, but clear 10-9s, and it won't be controversial at all. Is there any other fights on the
all
card
right,
that really that you care
fair
about at
enough.
all?
Roman
Hmm.
Kopylov. He's on the card. He was technically supposed to fight somebody more accomplished, but I think this is going to
I
be
think
an
he's on a little
interesting fight for
streak,
him, regardless.
maybe.
Yeah, he's got like 2 or 3 wins, I think.
So is he pretty exciting, or is there anything about him that you're looking forward to, or what's the deal?
Um, he got a finish in his last fight. he looks like a capable fighter, and if I'm not mistaken, he was on the oh yeah, he was on the Poirier
Mm,
Gaethje 2 fight card where
yeah.
he got a head kick knockout. Remember? And I'm looking forward to seeing him because now currently that makes it 3 fights inside the UFC on a win streak. He had lost his previous 2, and a decent amount of canceled bouts, unfortunately. But no, this is middleweight. Middleweight needs contenders, and he seems like a young, capable contender. I'm excited to see another contender come through. Um, he's fighting Josh Friend, and this guy just looks like your standard. Yeah, he's in middle of the road, kind of middleweight. He's got 2 wins inside the UFC, lost his first 2, and I'm confident Kopylov's going to probably finish him. I, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking like, okay, well, this isn't a tune-up fight for Kopylov. This is more like, all right, here's the standard run-of-the-mill middleweight. Either
Yeah.
finish him or take it to decision.
I don't know. For some reason with me, I like Roman Kopylov's just got that look where I'm like just waiting for him to lose. Like I'm actually picking Fremd in this. Like I don't know. Yeah, he's just got that look about him like he's destined to
Really?
lose. And I think Fremd might be the guy to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah.
it is
These are
middleweight.
both
Anything
kind
can
of like
happen.
as the heavy hands guys would say, middleweights. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
the MMA fighting guys say the same
One
thing.
fight I'm actually kind of looking forward to is Tracy Cortez versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Like I'm not really into Tracy Cortez. What's that?
Well, the Canadian,
Yeah. I'm not really
the
into
Canadian,
Tracy
yeah,
Cortez for the reason that most fans are, but I think she's like hasn't lost since her first fight. And so
yeah, yeah. There's a weird vibe that goes along with this one. I don't find her like that either. But like, here's the thing. I don't think she's impressive, to be honest. Like, she seems like a basic fighter who hasn't really evolved. And granted, I thought she was actually going to get some decent jujitsu skills from being in a relationship with Brian Ortega, but that seems to have not worked out at
wait, are
all.
you saying
So
she didn't go to T City?
I,
Triangle City? You didn't teach her the old triangle? Is that what you're saying?
I not that I, not
Fucking
that I'm aware
Ortega,
of. I
what are
don't
you
think
doing,
so.
man? Like,
They were supposed to. I don't think it was him.
mm.
I don't think it was him. I think it was
Oh,
her.
she triangled him.
But I mean, I maybe, and I don't think he liked it, or I don't think she liked
Yeah.
the fact that she did it. I don't know.
Either way,
Regardless,
I don't
I am.
like she's
She's
on a little
looking to
streak.
kind
I
of.
find the streak's kind of impressive.
Oh, you.
It's only 10 fights, so who knows? But even like when fighters look mediocre, if they could find ways to get the win, I kind of think that's pretty impressive. So we'll see. She can continue to somehow catch wins.
I don't think she's changed though from when she first started. That's the thing is that she's just kind of been there. Like if you look at a majority of her wins, it's decision. You know, and I I don't think she's evolved. I think she's got a decent game for the women's division, especially in this weight class. But I do not foresee her becoming a champion unless she adds more to her repertoire. Which, if you're just trying to get by on wins, good for you. If you don't evolve your game, you don't become a
Familiar with
champion.
who she's fighting? Jasmine at all?
I She's a submission fighter, if I'm not
I don't know. I
mistaken.
see lots of decisions. No, I don't. I see one rear naked choke, some body shots and knee stoppages, but I can tell you this fight will definitely go over 1.5 because there's a whole lot of decisions between these two ladies.
You put it over 3.
Yeah.
You put it
Yeah,
over the
absolutely.
2.5. Yeah. Yeah.
There's also
That is
Roses Jr. is fighting on the card.
under.
I'm actually picking
Oh
Terrence Mitchell.
God.
Like he lost his last fight, but before that, I think he had like a
Same.
3-fight win streak, and I'm not sold on this Roses Jr. kid. You got any thoughts about him at all?
He's 18. He should not be in the UFC. He should be literally finishing high school and then going to junior college and then maybe going to college after that. And then even then,
Yeah.
wait a year before he actually
Yeah.
fights. I don't know what we're doing here.
On fast track to CTE, but
I mean, 17 getting a fight on the Contender Series. So stupid. That- I shouldn't say that. I should say he's literally trying to do the thing where I have an opportunity. This is a thing that I can do and become proficient in. Good for you. I
yeah.
wouldn't have told him to do this if this is my kid. No, but I I would I would tell him to wait, do jujitsu tournaments, do some Golden Gloves, maybe amateur competitions first before anything. Just make sure you're. This is too much too soon, and I hate the fact that the UFC is literally willing to push this kid into the deep end because this isn't a regional
Yeah.
league, even though it acts like it sometimes. The Looking at this fight, Rosas should
Yeah.
probably win, but he's gonna lose.
Now, Lupita Godinez, do you have any thoughts on her? Like,
I
I think the fans were all behind her for a little bit, but that might have fallen off. I don't care at all about that fight. You got anything?
Yeah, she's that kind of person who literally shows up last minute. And granted, this is finally a fight where she could just show up and be close to home. Like I think she has a camp outside. If I'm not mistaken. Let me look at her
Looks like she's from
profile
Mexico.
real quick. Um, I d- Affiliation with Titan MMA. Like that's an American gym, I'm imagining. Eh, I mean, I'm happy for her that she's on this card. I'm happy she's going to be fighting in Mexico.
Well, for Mexico. You're gonna be fighting for Mexico, not in
I don't
Mexico.
see anything else coming from it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Thank you. I forgot. This is it. Yeah.
It's
Is
in
it not in
Noche, but
Noche?
it's in Vegas.
That's right. God.
They should have done this card in Mexico or Phoenix or somewhere. Oh well, you made a good case for Vegas earlier in the podcast, so I'll allow it.
Well, that's weird because it's like I assumed like Vegas would be a little bit more transparent about, hey, it's in Vegas, but it's actually
Yeah.
not, but it is. Like it's confusing the way it's being promoted, but neither here nor there. Yeah, it's a thing like that's why Canelo fights in
Yeah.
Vegas instead of Mexico.
Hmm.
Oh, I did want to put in another dude as somebody to watch. Charlie Campbell. Um, I believe this is at welterweight.
Never heard of him.
Is it a welterweight?
Lightweight.
So he's a guy
Lightweight.
that was promoted by Ray Longo.
Yeah.
Is it lightweight?
He's fighting Alex Reyes at lightweight.
Okay, so let's see.
Is that Dom Reyes, brother?
Alex Reyes and him are probably gonna. No,
Hmm.
because that dude is from Mexico. This dude is being promoted by Ray Longo, and I like guys that come out of that gym. They're all pretty close knit. They don't really take a whole lot of bullshit, and they all have each other's back. Like, doesn't matter how. And if he's fighting at lightweight, never hurts to have another banger lightweight from the Northeast. So I'm excited. I'm interested. I'm not excited for it, but I'm interested in it.
Okay, I'll make sure to keep an eye out on that one. I'm not familiar with either of those guys, but you think it'll be a good fight?
I think so. Ray doesn't
Well,
produce guys who are bums.
I'm
Don't,
gonna say it.
don't,
I'm gonna say it.
don't do it.
Don't say it.
No, you don't.
I
Don't
won't.
say it.
I won't say it. I won't say it.
I just.
I don't probably want that negative energy on me,
Okay.
anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So you got
enjoy
any
the
other
time.
any thoughts on UFC Noche or Noche UFC outside of what we discussed already?
Chris Yosiagos is a dude who's taking hammers and nothing but hammers,
Yeah.
whether he's beating them or losing to them.
I'm not.
Like, holy cow, man! I mean, he fought Jakar close. He has Sean Soriano in there. He has Armin Suzuki and Thiago Moises.
Ricky Glenn, that's no easy out.
He
Carlos
just beat
Oliveira.
Ricky Glenn.
I mean, he lost, but
Mm-hmm.
most people do.
Yeah, no, this guy,
Yeah.
despite he fights good dudes, and I mean, hell, he had 2 canceled bouts or 3 canceled bouts in the past 2 years, and one of them was Benoit Saint Denis, and the other one was
Man.
Joel Alvarez. God. I mean, he's a guy who comes to fight. I appreciate the fact that he doesn't say no to tough fights, and those are tough fights. They're not fun fights either because they don't really produce anything that adds to your win streak. Like, it's a name, it's a win, but they're not like
This guy
names
who's
that you
fighting
can
is
build
fun
off of.
too.
They're
The
like,
Scaniel guy. That might be the sneaky banger. Yeah.
I think so. It's lightweight too, right? So yeah,
Hell yeah.
lightweight's a great division.
You got anything else?
I'm interested now more. I was gonna say, well, I'm more interested in the card now, having looked at the card again, because I looked at it at the beginning of the week and I was like, it doesn't come off the role of what we were just watching. In that card in Australia wasn't the strongest either. I mean, granted, you were very high on it, and it ended up being a very decent card, but my gymnastics score, I think I gave them was a 6,
Yeah.
and ended up being like a 7.5, just because of Strickland's performance. But if I was gonna say anything, I think at the beginning of the week, I think I was gonna say this one's probably a 4.5, 5, probably 4.5 at best. It could probably be a 5.5 come fight day. We'll see how it plays out, but I think it's because there's just too many canceled bouts that ended up happening to this card, and not enough star power besides the top 2, 3 fights. And even then, Rosas being on here, Rosas is just there.
He's just a name.
He's not.
He's a brand.
There's nothing that.
He's like a sponsor. He's
Yeah,
like the
he's just a
monster
name.
logo. He's just there.
He's a kid. Yeah, exactly. Nothing against him. It's just I would like no promotion, except kind of like how they did Jack Della Maddalena and how they did Shopcott. Guys who are just, they're giving him wins. You're feeding him. You're feeding him. You're feeding him. You're happy he's winning. You're promoting the fact that he's winning, but you're not making him the next coming of Jesus. You're not making him the next champion in waiting. You're literally just feeding him guys who are coming off Contender Series, and their first introduction should be against him.
Yeah.
Can you beat this kid? That's what they should have done. But we gave him a tough test, and that kid, he fought, came in a little overweight. It is what it is. But shit happens. You're either prepared for the fight or you're not. I'm going to look at it and think like Rosas
Yeah.
probably doesn't win this fight either. But when you watch him submit the kid in like a fucking minute,
He's really
and
strong.
egg all over our
his
faces.
dad's doing that pumping him full of steroids thing. So, you don't know about
I don't know
that.
about that.
Have
I
you
think
seen
it's
him?
more because obviously it's not helping his face. No, I think what it is, it's that thing where he probably needs like a what's it called? It probably needs a certain thing
Like his thyroid
that
screwed
his
up,
body
so he
can't
has like
produce on
that
its
Andre
own.
the
Because there are
Giant
people who are like
thing,
vitamin.
where his jaw's growing at a rate faster than the rest of his
I wouldn't be
body.
surprised. Giganticism.
Yeah.
I said that to you
Well,
in
I'll edit
confidence.
this out, so don't worry about it. All right, let's we've been going for a while. Let's get this thing wrapped up here. Is there anything else about the card that is worth bringing up?
Only thing I could say is
Yeah.
ticket sales. I'm imagining they're not
Yeah.
cheap.
The cheapest I saw was 800, and the most expensive I saw was around 4,000. Ticket prices are crazy. Yeah,
Are you
ticket
serious?
prices are crazy. It is what it is. They've been crazy for a while. It's not just New York; they're crazy everywhere. Uh, Fuck it, get yourself some nice seats to the one show the next time they come to USA for $200, and you'll be good. Fuck the UFC ticket prices.
Well, that's the thing I kind of look at. Like, are they just not trying to get the
Well,
hardcore
people are
fans
paying
interested
them.
in
People
going
are
to watch
paying
the
it.
fights?
So
Are they just?
I think some hardcores pay it. I mean, someone's buying them.
Yeah, but like, well, that's true. I mean, they've been out of the apex more than they have in the last few years due to COVID, but like they are finally like giving the road show some attention, and the fans who are getting there, they're not getting the best cards, but somehow they're still selling out. Like I I'm not paying
No,
$800 to go sit in the
no,
fucking nosebleeds. I'm
people do though, man.
sorry.
They're pricing out the old guys like us, I guess. Well, you're not that old, but you're old in spirit.
I, but no, it just feels true, but like it feels it just feels like it's not the UFC doesn't want the casual fan that isn't willing to spend like a certain amount just to go. Like it's almost like you're trying to go see an experience, like a live sporting event. And I think that's the same with almost live sporting events, like the Las Vegas Raiders. Currently, they have a hockey team now. They also have a baseball team. The Oakland A's are moving to Vegas as well. Like I think they're just trying to do this sports push of like let's make. And I think that's the same concerts too. They're expensive now. Ticket sale prices are ridiculous for them too. Hell, even to go see a comedian at like an arena, like you're paying two
Man,
hundred
fuck
bucks for
that.
some of those tickets sometimes.
Yeah.
I know it's just getting expensive, man, to be a fan of shit.
I'll just be old and
Just
watching
in
my
general.
couch streaming that shit. The bathrooms at all those events are fucking dog shit anyway.
I hear you.
Like, it's not worth it. Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
wrong. You're not wrong. Plus, they're packed too.
All right. So another interesting piece of news was I guess the UFC and WWE. I thought they merged already, but I guess they re-merged or something, and now they're TKO Group. I don't really give a fuck, so I don't have anything about it. But you think anything about that?
Well, yeah. So this is what they did. So Endeavor bought the rights to the WWE from Vince McMahon, who used his own power and ownership to sell the company from under the group that was in charge. that was trying to literally kick him out of power. In a brilliant move, he found a way to literally sell the company while he was being ushered out, and then ended up getting put ahead in charge of the company because he was in trouble for that scandal where he was paying women off for
Yeah.
being his mistresses. Yeah, so essentially he was like, all right, well, these guys want to kick me out of power. I'm going to pretend like I am. And then sure enough, he sells the rights to the company. And now he's pretty much put back in charge by Endeavor. Um, what they did was they basically created a separate company that they put both the UFC and the WWE into to basically sell, to put it on the stock exchange. It's under TKO for that reason. Endeavor still has its own stock that it has, and that like includes bull riding and all the other like properties that they have. They figured, well, these two are profitable on their own. We'll just let them make the money for us because we own them. Well, let's just do that. Plus, they're valued at 21 billion currently, both the UFC and WWE. What ended up happening was is that I think Vince saw the writing on the wall, and he figured the only way that he was going to stay in power and the WWE to actually come out more profitable than it is, because I'm pretty sure I think at one point the UFC was like less valued than the WWE. I think it was like over at 10 or 14,
Well, the UFC is
between that
worth
range
more
of
than the
billions,
WWE right now. It was
whereas the
like
UFC
14 billion or something, and WWE was 9 billion. I thought that was kind of surprising.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they basically caught them at the one time where they were the weakest, and they wouldn't be that weak at, in the foreseeable future, unless Vince McMahon, I think, was taking the image. I think by that point, so plus them going over to Saudi Arabia probably didn't help.
Yeah.
But anywho, neither here nor there. Um, they were looking for buyers, and sure enough, Endeavor took them because I didn't think the 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 United States was willing to let them get sold to a Saudi group. I think was the case, and which actually brings up brings something up real quick. The Saudi government, it recently purchased shares, a minority share whole of $100 million worth, I think, of the PFL. Speaking of that, um, they're looking to basically get a foothold in the MMA game because the UFC is partnered currently with the UAE, or Abu Dhabi, I should say, which is separate. Um, Saudi Arabia has a little more kind of stickier past, I should say, and I mean they're not, kind of like that whole thing with they them killing a journalist and then also trying to buy their own golf league and buy the PGA Tour, also buy teams in soccer. I think they have a couple of other things that they're working on currently, but this is a separate sports program from the government that purchased those shares, and they're basically looking to create their pay-per-view events that they're looking to do, their super fights, is going to be hosted in Saudi Arabia per that ESPN clip. I think I read.
Interesting.
I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this is. I don't know what to make of it because they're. I think this is the same group that's looking to purchase Bellator. PFL is trying to. I don't know if they have the cachet for it, but their war chest, from what I've understanding, is currently $300 million. The PFL with this additional $100 million. So the thing is that I think the current price tag on Bellator is 500 million
Yeah.
to be sold. So that means somebody has to fork up the money at some point to purchase it. So, which I would have honestly thought that it was closer to 250 million price tag. Like I didn't think Bellator would be that expensive, but I guess you're buying the fight library and you're buying the production teams as well as the roster of fighters, which if fighters want to go to PFL, they're going to keep the contracts or pay
Also,
their
you get
contracts more or less
Josh Thompson and Big
for
John
the
McCarthy.
contracts they
That's
want.
worth 5-10 mil right there.
I
you
don't even think
serious?
they're doing a podcast together anymore. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to them since
Oh,
like
so
a
you're
year,
saying
but
fake news?
I don't think they're doing the podcast anymore.
All right. All right.
I am.
No.
We'll cut that out.
All right. Well,
I
let's
just don't like
get
that.
on to the last piece of news I have. Looks like Derek Brunson was released according to UFC Roster Watch. He was, I guess, the writing was kind of on the wall, but I think Blonde Brunson was a good test to keep around, a good gatekeeper. You got any thoughts on his release?
It fucking sucks, dude, because that should have been the guy he fought.
That
Chris
is
Weidman
who
fought
Chris
on
Weidman
his
should have
return.
fought, but
It shouldn't have been Brad Tavares because Brad was well-rounded, well-equipped, but neither
they
here nor
should have given
there.
Paul Craig or
Person
someone
was
like
so
that.
busy.
Yeah,
Brunson wasn't. No, because Paul Craig's still durable. As stupid as he
he's not going to
fights,
sub
he's
Chris
still
Weidman
durable.
though.
I don't think he'd have to. He'd just find a limb that's
Yeah.
barely hanging on and
Yeah.
injure it. Which sucks. I remember watching Chris Weidman fights and being like, "Fuck yeah," But it sucks too because you remember that era when Brunson was on a win streak and considered an actual contender for the division, like a few years ago.
I think Whitaker was the one that put a stop to that.
Or I should say it was during. Yes, and Whitaker was on a win streak himself. It was Whitaker, Brunson, Jacare, Yoel. You had Gegard Mousasi as well, and then you had Christoph Jocko, and then you had Tim Kennedy, and I think you had one or two other fighters that were also involved in that. And then Bisping had just all of a sudden became champion, and it came down to Brunson fighting Whitaker, Brunson fighting Jacare, and then Yoel and Jacare fighting. Jocko fighting somebody else and then losing, and Gegard beating Chris Weidman and then leaving the division for Bellator. And all those guys, all those contenders were pretty much reduced to two guys, and it was Yoel and fucking Robert Whitaker, which was a shame because goddamn, Bisping wanted to hold up the division for his money fight, and it was like, all right, cool. GSP could have literally took back the middleweight title and it would have been fine. And it's like, or I'm sorry, the welterweight title, because he would have been able to at least have Woodley given a run for his money, and it wouldn't have mattered. It probably would have been an easier fight to handle for him because at that point it was either going to be, if I'm not mistaken, Usman was next in line. Was it Usman? It just feels like I may be getting my history mixed up at that, but it felt like, okay, we're holding up the division for this maybe fight because even between that he fought Dan Henderson, who wasn't even a contender.
Yeah,
and Dan Henderson fucked him up. DangerMouse will dispute that, but still.
All right. Well, we've been going for close to an hour and a half, so I should probably put a pin in this thing. I'd like to kind of close with, in honor of Noche UFC. We were just going to do 3, but I want to know who's your one favorite fighter of Mexican heritage, Mexican American, Mexican. One fighter.
What's funny? Well, I was gonna say, what's funny is that I wanted to say it was either gonna be Yair Rodriguez, Kelvin Gastelum, or Brandon Moreno. Yeah. Kevin Gastelum was born in the U.S., but still. I want to.
That's your favorite Hispanic fighter, Alexa Grasso?
Certainly. Yeah, because she surprised me, man.
I'll be honest, the Mexican fighters is kind of let me down. So
I like it.
I'm cheering for her this weekend. I'm going to cheer for her this weekend. I love the fact that she showed up and she's actually champion, and I think she can. I think if she retains the title, I think she's got good things in the future for her.
I like it. Well, I don't play favorites, so I'm not going to go. That was our UFC Noche UFC preview show with no special there. Why don't you say goodbye to all of our listeners? No special.
This was fun.
Yeah, this is.
We need to do this more often.
Yeah.
Ideally,
this
with
was
the
Super Dave Fairtex signing off. Y'all have a good night.
Good.
Got this.